I'm Sonia Baghdady, and you're watching Advocate Now. Here are some of our favorite moments from last month's episodes. Yeah, and your personality really shines through in your work, especially on the podcast. You just exude so much joy. And, we're taught from a young age that hard work is the most important ingredient for success. And that's no doubt important. But what role do you think joy has in success?
Oh, joy, I think joy is beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
I think even when you think about, like, if you build something out of pain and out of trauma, like, that only lasts you so long,
So true.
but joy can be infinite, if you create the spaces and put yourself in situations that bring you joy, you know what I mean? And I think for me, especially with the content that I make and the jobs that I have, it's important that I maintain my own joy so that I can bring joy to other people.
Yeah, I believe that joy is the foundation for success, and maintaining that childlike wonder. It
Mm.
plays such a big role. And speaking of that, looking back on your childhood, you were involved in theater. You're
Mhm.
now starring in the upcoming Netflix rom-com Meet Me Next Christmas. What do you think the young Kaylin who was involved in theater would say if he knew what was coming for you?
Oh my gosh. I think young Caitlin, he would just love that I never gave up on the dream or the aspiration, and that I still haven't given up, that I'm still redrafting dreams and figuring out, well, what's next? How do we grow? Where do we go from here? You know what I mean? I think he would be amazed at all the opportunities and everything that has just happened for him.
And you did find success at a young age, but you also hustled to get where you are now. Was there a backup plan, or did you always know that you'd be working in entertainment in some form?
Oh, there was no backup plan. It was
This
going to
is
be
this yeah,
entertainment or nothing else. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Whether that was, and I think that's also like you talked about me doing theater. Like, I studied theater and film, right, in college. And the reason why I did that was because I knew I wanted to work in the entertainment, whether that was me being a writer, a producer, a director, or any of that, is that I wanted to make sure that I could do any job within the entertainment industry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and do you think that that focus and that drive you had played such a large role in getting you where you are now? Because it's
Mhm.
really all about where you're putting your energy, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Because even to this day, when I work with my team and I'm in all these rooms, I enter them as a CEO. I don't enter them as talent. I don't enter them as in just like, hand me a script and I'll just perform. I don't do it that way. I am very hands on with every single aspect, even as far as like even marketing. Like, usually if I'm pitching an idea, I already know how I want to market it. You know what I mean? So I am very hands on. And I feel like that's also how you keep longevity within the career as well.
In
Yeah.
addition to, your work in theater and on stage, you're an award-winning actress. We've seen you in shows like Abbott Elementary, Hacks, not to mention Arrested Development, The Daily Show. And I want to ask you about your time on the HBO series Looking, because it's been almost a decade since HBO announced that show. And at the time, it was being called the gay version of Sex and the City. Had that show continued, how do you think it would be perceived today? Because at the time, there was really a lack of queer representation on TV.
I don't know how it would be perceived today because I'm not sure if I know all of the show. I feel like it's kind of like for a while, um, like gay bars were a real thing, a real haven, a real safe place, a real right. Like you and I would do cabaret shows that toured to specifically gay bars, and then they all started shutting down, and I thought that was so awful. And this is not that long ago. It's probably like 9 years ago. Like, I'd say half of the bars that I went to were shutting, and people are like, "Well, the reason is because we don't need those gay bar. Every bar could be a gay bar. This, but we're all welcome everywhere." And then that started to shift it, right? That's become not the truth anymore. So it it feels like there's such a need again. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if there's any shows out there, and I don't know. So I'm worried about saying it that had the same kind of sort of, I want to say, low key storytelling where it's really about the characters, that it's not completely about being, well, it is about being gay, but it's also just life stories.
When will I know if it's working? Trust me, you'll know, buddy.
You're good about Richie now, right?
Are you seeing anyone?
Are you?
It's complicated.
You tell someone what happened, and then suddenly it's all over San Francisco. I really don't want that to happen.
It was small in scope. Like, it wasn't this like crazy outlandish, you know what I mean? It wasn't anything. A lot of times when you're trying to like create a TV show, they're like, okay, so you're a single mom, but are you just getting out of prison? Like they want the stakes to be crazy high, right? For it to have a hook. And this was just like, these are boys looking for love in San Francisco. Stop. That's it. And their lives. To me, that's so nice and so comforting and so sweet and so great for somebody in Iowa, still closeted. And even now we're back to that feeling of like being scared, being able to just watch people live their lives out there and think there's a place where you could have just friends who are gay and you could just have some romance, have some fights, have just a normal life like everyone else is having, and their ups and downs of their lives, and that it seems like it's important again.
You have been known as a spiritual leader. You were Oprah's spiritual advisor. When people try to write off spiritual leaders as crazy, I truly believe that it stems from fear, and they might not even realize that they're afraid because they're living unconsciously. And you have said that love is what we're born with, fear is what we learn. What do you think people are so afraid of?
Well, first of all, anybody who says that is displaying a remarkable lack of knowledge about American history. The abolitionist movement emerged from the early evangelical churches in New Hampshire. Many of the women who were the leaders in the suffragette movement were Quakers. Dr. King, of course, was a Baptist preacher. So whenever there's been a major social justice movement in American history, there's been a deep embedding of that movement within religious and spiritual circles. So that's number one. Number two, well, I have two things to say. First of all, somebody might want to take a good look at the second inaugural address of Abraham Lincoln, because the whole thing is his conversation about the Civil War in the context of biblical understanding. And the second thing about that is the spiritual underpinnings of the Declaration of Independence, which is our mission statement. It begins with the concept that all men are created equal. It doesn't even say all men are equal. It says all men are created equal. And then it says God gave us inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So the founding of this country is grounded in principles which are higher than merely transactional political values.
And one of my favorite things that you've ever written is that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Why do you think so many of us fear our own power?
The idea of our fear of shining, I mean, you and I as women certainly know that. Sometimes there is the tendency in all of us, I'll just keep my head down. If I say what I really think, I might not get approved of. If I try to do what I really want to do, somebody might slap me down. People who come from any kind of a minority particularly understand this, but there is a level on which we all feel it, no matter who we are. Because in what talking about that book, there's an ego mind inside all of us, which is our temptation to play small, keep it constricted, a fear of what might happen if we make a break for it and express ourselves. Now, I think that the most we can do, and that's a lot, and that's included in that paragraph, is do it anyway. And when you do, yes, there will be some people who slap you down. There will be some people who that you think you are. And there will be other people who go, yeah, thank you for demonstrating that. And I think particularly for us as women, that's important, because I think we all are looking for someone else to display something that we think, well, wait a minute, if she could do it, or he could do it, or they could do it, it opens up a space of possibility for everyone.
I'm Sonia Baghdady. Thanks for watching and advocating. For more stories and content like this, visit advocate.com and advocatechannel.com.